Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, coin lovers, history buffs, and treasure hunters alike. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a tiny piece of American currency that might just be hiding in your change jar or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, but don't let its size fool you. This coin, the 2010 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark, might seem ordinary at first glance. It's small, it's silver-toned, and it doesn't exactly scream valuable, but there's a story behind this dime that stretches back over 75 years. A story that speaks of legacy, craftsmanship, and the unexpected surprises hiding in plain sight. And yes, we'll get to its impressive collector value of $97 by the end, but trust me, there's a lot more to uncover before we get there. To understand what makes the 2010 Roosevelt dime so special, we need to rewind the clock, way back, to the 1940s. The United States was coming out of a brutal period marked by the Great Depression and, of course, World War II. In the midst of all that turmoil stood one man whose impact on the nation was so profound, his legacy would eventually be stamped into our currency: Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. The very first Roosevelt dimes were released in 1946, just months after FDR's death. The decision to use his image was met with widespread support, not just because of his presidency, but because of his deep connection to the dime through the March of Dimes. The dime, in many ways, became more than just currency. It became a tribute. And while the design of the Roosevelt dime has remained largely the same over the decades, each year and each minting carries its own subtle nuances and historical context. Enter the 2010 Roosevelt dime, specifically those minted in Denver, carrying the distinctive D mint mark. Now, 2010 wasn't exactly a year of major upheaval or revolution in U.S. coin design. In fact, it was relatively quiet in terms of minting drama. But sometimes, it's in those quieter years that certain coins slip through the cracks, unnoticed, underappreciated, and later, unexpectedly prized. The Roosevelt dime minted in Denver in 2010 is one such example, but what about the mint mark? That little D on the coin tells us this particular dime was minted in Denver, Colorado. In 2010, the Denver Mint was one of the most active in the country, churning out billions of coins. The total mintage for the 2010 D Roosevelt dime was over 561 million. Yes, you heard that right, more than $500 million were made. Collectors look for what's known as mint state coins, often graded on a scale from 60 to 70. A coin graded MS 60 might be uncirculated but have a few bag marks or surface blemishes. MS 65 is considered gem quality, and MS 67 or higher. That's where things start getting exciting. A 2010 D Roosevelt dime graded MS 68 or above, with full bands visible on the torch, meaning every line and groove is crisp and flawless, can command a premium price. The record auction price for a 2010 D Roosevelt dime isn't in the thousands like some rare coins, but it's still surprisingly high when you consider its face value, just 10 cents. And yet, in top condition, some examples have fetched up to $97, a jaw-dropping return for a coin most people wouldn't think twice about. Why is this value significant? Because it reminds us that not all treasure is buried in the ground or locked away in vaults. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight, nestled in your change purse, passed unknowingly from hand to hand, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a little curiosity to spot its hidden worth. So, what does this mean for you, the viewer? Well, next time you get change back from a cashier, take a moment to look closely at your dimes. Is there a little D beneath Roosevelt's neck? Is the coin unusually shiny, crisp, and free from scratches or nicks? Do the bands on the torch stand out with razor-sharp detail? If so, you just might be holding something special. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a window into history. Every coin tells a story. Of the time it was minted. Of the people it honored. Of the economy and technology that made it possible. The 2010 Roosevelt dime may not seem rare at first, but its value lies in how it connects us to a broader narrative, a story of presidents and engravers, of mints and machines, and of ordinary people discovering extraordinary things in the most unlikely places. and there's something poetic about that, isn't there? That a coin worth 10 cents, something we drop on the sidewalk or toss in a jar without a second thought, could be worth $97 to the right person. It makes you wonder what else we might be overlooking. What other hidden treasures are right in front of us, just waiting to be recognized. So, the next time you hear that familiar jingle in your pocket, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. You never know what you might find. Because as we've seen today, even a 2010 Roosevelt dime from Denver, a coin minted by the hundreds of millions, can turn out to be a little piece of treasure, one worth far more than its weight in silver. It's amazing how sometimes, the smallest things tell the biggest stories. Take, for example, a tiny silver-colored coin, the humble United States dime. It's light, it's small, and it's usually tossed in jars or forgotten at the bottom of pockets. But what if I told you that one particular dime, struck in 1967, could be worth far more than you ever imagined? That a coin most people wouldn't look at twice could carry a hidden value of $152? This is not a myth or urban legend, it's the fascinating story of the 1967 US 1 dime. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1967. The world is changing rapidly. In America, the Vietnam War rages on, protest movements grow louder, civil rights battles are reshaping society, and new music from artists like the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, and Aretha Franklin fills the airwaves. In the midst of all this cultural and political upheaval, the U.S. Mint quietly continues its job, producing coins for a growing economy. No fanfare, no headlines, just day in and day out minting of money. And among the millions of coins produced that year was the 1967 Roosevelt dime. His image had replaced the winged Liberty Head, or Mercury, dime, the year after his death. It was a fitting tribute, not only for his leadership but also for his association with the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio, a disease he had battled personally. In fact, if you look closely, you'll notice something missing: there's no mint mark. That's right. Normally, coins bear a small letter indicating which mint facility they came from, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or nothing for Philadelphia. But in 1965, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins. Why? To combat coin hoarding, and that brings us to the real story, the reason why a 1967 dime, worth just 10 cents on paper, can fetch up to $152 today. It's all about the details. The devil is truly in the details when it comes to coin collecting. One major factor is condition. The overwhelming majority of 1967 dimes have lived rough lives, clanging in cash registers, sitting in parking meters, getting scratched and worn. But a very small number escaped that fate. These are the coins that were never circulated. Coins that remained pristine, sharp, and mirror-like, and that's where the value skyrockets. A standard 1967 dime in worn condition? Still worth 10 cents. Maybe $1 or $2 if it's in nice shape. But a top-grade example, especially with a cameo or deep cameo finish. That's the magic. That's where collectors get excited. That's where you see prices like $50, $100, and yes, even $152 for a single dime. Let that sink in. A coin that you could easily overlook in your change, possibly lying at the bottom of your drawer right now, could be worth over 100 times its face value. It's a reminder that coin collecting isn't just about rarity, it's about condition, history, and the thrill of discovery. And here's the kicker: many people have no idea. They see 1967, they think modern, and they move on. They don't realize that this year was a turning point in U.S. coinage. They don't realize that hidden gems are out there, waiting to be found, waiting to be graded, waiting to surprise someone with their value. That's why so many collectors keep a keen eye on their change. You never know what might turn up. Of course, not every 1967 dime is a treasure. Millions were made. In fact, over 2.2 billion dimes were struck that year. It's one of the highest mintages in the series. But within that enormous number lies a tiny fraction, just a sliver of the whole, that are true rarities. Whether they're high-grade SMS coins, or error coins with double strikes, off-center images, or die breaks, those are the coins that can transform 10 cents into something truly special, and because 1967 lacked mint marks, it's harder to categorize or trace these errors, making them even more mysterious. Each one tells a story, not just about Roosevelt or 1967, but about the process of coin production itself. These tiny flaws, often invisible to the casual observer, can be golden opportunities for the watchful collector. Collectors, historians, and enthusiasts aren't just hunting for valuable coins, they're preserving pieces of the past. That's what gives a dime its magic. That's what transforms it from pocket change into a prized possession. So the next time you see a dime, don't dismiss it. Flip it over. Look at the date. Examine the surfaces. You never know what secrets it might hold. It might be tarnished and worn, or it might gleam with a shine that sets it apart. It might just be a regular coin, or it might be that rare, high-grade 1967 dime, quietly sitting in circulation for over 50 years, waiting for someone to recognize its worth. And if you do find one, if you spot that near-perfect shine, those frosty devices and mirrored fields, that impeccable detail, you just might be looking at a $152 treasure. That's the story of the 1967 United States one dime. A coin born during a time of change, carrying more than just Roosevelt's image. It carries mystery. It carries value. And it carries the incredible possibility that even the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. Thanks for watching, and remember, some coins are worth far more than they seem. Don't let them slip through your fingers.